Welcome to Coach SG and Friends, where we discuss topics that help you have a better relationship with yourself and others. I am Coach SG, otherwise known as your joyful friend. I'm a relationship coach and life mentor, an entrepreneur and speaker. I'm based out of Los Angeles, but originally from Brooklyn, New York. I love great music, deep conversations, and inspiring people to live their best emotional lives and create their most amazing love story. Let me introduce you to my two friends, Janessa Rose and Lisa Miranda. Janessa is the CEO of Motivational Monsters, a nonprofit that helps people activate mental health and emotional well-being through creative arts. She is the author of How to Stop Being an Effing Bum. BUM stands for Broken Urban Mentality. She's been dubbed the Tony Robbins / Cardi B of motivational speakers, and she calls herself the Galactic Goddess. Lisa Miranda is an actor and creative director. She's also dabbling in producing. She is based in Miami, New York, and Paris. She is a world traveler who speaks several languages, who loves life, good people, and good conversation. So we want to welcome you to our podcast. Let's get started. So what do you guys think individually is the greatest lesson you've learned from relationships?
Mine was fear. Fear had robbed me of my greatest love story on many, many occasions, and it always tries to climb back up in different ways. Um,
Fear in
my
what way?
like fear of being hurt, fear of someone else hurting me, fear of me trusting someone, fear of being lied to, fear of hurting other people. Fear has come up like fear has a closet wardrobe full of costumes. It's like, oh, I'm here now and he's gonna hurt you. Or, now it's in another costume and it's like, I'll protect you, tell him off. And then it's like, I pushed them away. You know what I mean? And so fear has come up in so many different ways. But it was nonetheless always fear dressed up as some other unhealed part of myself that kept me from being in my greatest love. And even now, like it, I would say currently I'm in my healthiest space of how to love, right? And now I'm like scared if I set boundaries sometimes, because like, you date and you're like, well, I really like you, but these certain things aren't, I have boundaries. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna, we can't live together right now because I'm not your wife. And usually in my past, it's just my past experiences that, I come from a certain kind of culture. Guys are like immediately like they want you to play wife, cook for me, clean for me, be here, do this, let me live at your house, or you come stay at my house, or be available. And so when I started to set boundaries, my healthy boundaries, I would have this thought process that's like, maybe you're going to push them away if you tell them what type of things you're willing to accept and some things you're not willing to accept. Not that they can't do them. You can do whatever you want to do, but I don't want to be, obligated to allow that if it makes me not be my best self. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's a part of me that was like a little fearing of that. Like, do you set that boundary? You might lose this person you want to date. You know what I mean? But fear has always come up and kept me from, moving on. But I be beating fear up now.
Yes.
How about you, Lisa?
The greatest lesson
Yeah, you feel like you've learned in relationships.
that there's something to learn and gain in every relationship. Because there's a
Mm.
lot of times that I've tried to like, oh well, this person or this experience offered nothing. And when I just try to like wipe it with that, one cloth, that's not true. I learned who I want to be, who I don't want to be, how I want to live, how I want to be treated from all kinds of different people. Times where people were friends or family advised, I don't do that. And I did it anyway. And I learned and that person or and that experience taught me. So I'm like, I'm a lot more forgiving, and I feel like I'm like my soul is like a grandma now because I was like very careful with like the kids in my family born after me, but then now there's a new generation, and I'm just like, like, it's okay. Like, it's all okay. I really feel more like forgiving and at ease, and know that there's something to offer. And you know what? If it kills you, well,
Well, that's it.
it be like that sometimes.
Yeah, you
Well,
can't even.
so I've been on this earth a little longer than the two of you, and I would say that I've learned so much. One, that I think the biggest thing was that I get to create the relationship for me. Like, I don't have to worry about who told me how people need to show up, who they need to be. Like, I get to create my relationship. I don't have to worry about society's, expectation of relationships. I get to determine what that is. I think the other thing too is that I realize that everybody doesn't think like me. Just because we like each other and we love each other, we don't see the world the same way. And it's really, I've learned now I've got to align myself with people that see the world similar to me so that I don't have all this frustration. And I think the other part was that I realized I'm not responsible for anybody's feelings, and they're not responsible for mine. I thought you were responsible for mine and I was responsible for yours. And when you weren't showing up the way I needed to, I felt like you weren't taking, you weren't taking care of me. But the truth is I realized I needed to take care of myself. They need to take care of themselves. I could just be kind and compassionate, but I'm not responsible. That was the biggest lesson that I ever learned. And it's so helpful now.
I got to ask you about that, because I'm clear that like no one's responsible for my emotions, right?
Right.
But, I think I still battle with it, because it's like, I'm not responsible for you, but at the same time, I'm courteous of how, I'm affecting you emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I make it my business to try my best to be, cool and not put you in any positions where you feel, fucked up or whatever. But
Right.
the same token, if I feel something, if say we're dating and I'm like, hey, this situation kind of, led me to feel, I feel this way now because of what occurred, with whatever actions.
Right.
Is that the same as, like, I don't want to put that on the person. I don't want to put that on, like, that's your responsibility to make me feel to change the way I feel. But is it okay that I share it with you, that I feel a way? Because I feel like if I don't, then I have like a baby war inside.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No. Well, baby war?
Yeah. Like I feel like if I hold the way I feel back, like, let's say, all right, disclosure, I'm saying it. Okay. So
say it.
Okay. So if I feel like, I was disappointed by someone,
Right.
you did something and it disappointed me. And I need to understand that disappointments in this dynamic is not really going to work for me. I can't be constantly disappointed. I don't deserve that. Right. Mm-hmm. And I want to disclose that to a person, like, that disappointed me. You don't have to change whatever it is that you did to make me feel better, but I need to tell you, how can we move forward with you knowing now that I feel some sort of way about that disappointment? You know what I mean? Because if I don't,
I think the questions are different, right? So he's not, or they're not responsible, right, for how you feel, but you're responsible for communicating your needs. That's different. So these are some things that I have, that some needs that I have. So it's up to the person to decide if they want to flex in some way. So it's different. So, we didn't mention what the disappointment was, but if it's something that's like, say, somebody said they were going to show up and they didn't show up, right? So now, yes, I'm disappointed because I expect you to keep your word. That's important in my in a relationship with somebody. I need to be able to trust them. So if they say something, because everything is connected to bigger things, right? So we're kind of monitoring things. Like, if you're just gonna not show up in little things, you're really not going to show up in big things. So so those are two different things. One is just, he's not responsible for your disappointment. That's your feeling, right? But you're responsible for communicating your needs, your standards, and then he can determine what he wants to do from that point. And then that's what, and it's teaching you what's happening with you. It's teaching you I like whatever the thing was that he didn't do or did do. I like somebody who does this. But what happens is we go right into the behavior. We want to correct the behavior, but really we just have to communicate our needs. He decides if he wants to change or not, meet you somewhere, right?
Right.
If he does, now things are better. But if he's like, yeah, no, that's not cool for me, you've got to decide if you want to continue this.
100%. All right.
Right.
Yeah. Because this
Can
is
I add to that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
think it's also important to know how you need to make sure that when you have that conversation, you're not still angry. Because I think what happens a lot of times with me is I'm so ready to have that conversation about how someone disappointed me that I'm still in the pain. And then I say things that I later regret, or I didn't mean it that intense. I didn't really mean I hate you. So I think it's so important to first take care of your emotions so that whatever that looks like, go take a walk, go sleep, whatever. But when you have that conversation about what you need and how you feel, you're not in that rage or that disappointment. You've been able to take care of yourself. You've been responsible for how you feel. And now it's just really communication.
yeah, no, I'm 100% good with responding and not reacting at this point in my life experiences. I used to react, and Janessa's reactions were way off the wall other than my responding to things now. Now I respond, and I definitely, I'm capable of taking responsibility for the way I feel. The thing that I realize is that um people sometimes, they're not, you got to understand it. Even though you're responding to something and you give in, you like Sherrel said, like, I'm responsible for communicating this to you. Some people, no matter how prepared you are to communicate it with them, they're prepared not to receive it. Some people, they're just, they can't, sometimes they don't have enough time to process that, especially if you haven't really, you haven't said much about it. It could be, let's just say hypothetically, it's the first time you have to be responsible to communicate something with someone. They're already not used to that yet. You know what I mean? They don't know yet, like, oh, this bitch is gonna snap in 2 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, they're not on that time. They're like, well, I was doing this and this is why. And they come off with that defensive, whoa, 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 I have life going on here. And they kind of like say things that you're like, well, cool. I know you do. I'm not saying that I need you to, do whatever I makes me feel better. I'm just letting you know this is something that I need you to show up to. And if not, that's fine. But I
Right.
can't keep showing up. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
I think what happens with all that is that we want people to think like us, right? And then when we communicate it, I think, like Lisa was saying, that, we take a moment, make sure we're in a good space, meditate, come back with love and compassion to have this conversation. So nobody feels defensive, because, usually when we're having a discussion, right, we're saying, well, when you did this, it made me feel like this. And so then people are feeling like they've got to defend themselves because they really didn't mean to hurt us in some way or whatever. And then we get into like wanting them to change, but really it's about like really identifying if you're a good match or not. Like, are you aligned in these areas? Instead of getting upset, it's really about observation. Like, okay, if I asked you to show up, a couple times a week, like, in order for us to cultivate this relationship, I'm going to need you to show up a little bit more often. And you're super busy all the time, but you're not trying to communicate like it's only going to last for, a few weeks because I got this project, but I'm going to show up. But if it's like, well, I got things to do and there's no problem solving, there's no solution. Like, the fight has to end, really, because it's really about, I don't really, we're not aligned, because I want somebody who hears me, who says, I understand that you need more time from me than I'm providing for you. So just give me 4 weeks. When this project's done, I'm going to make sure I'm showing up. But if they're making excuses, we don't need to get into the excuses. We just really got to go, I don't know if I'm going to like this long term.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you chose the battle. if you feel good, like if you're no longer upset, if you've been able to take care of you, even if the other person is ready to go, they're enraged by what you say, it clicks for you, like, I'm not gonna go there. It clicks like this isn't the right fit. Or like you don't then have to like defend, like you guys don't have to have a whole turf war. You just know easier. And then you're just like, all right, like you know what's worth fighting for if you feel good. But I think a lot of people, it's just like, it's just like I have to be right. This other person isn't gonna, overpower me or overshadow me or make me feel small. And it just causes more hurt. And a lot of times, how many times we hear this where the actual conversation becomes a bigger fight than the original issue. And
Right.
it just escalates and escalates. And a lot of people don't want to ever talk again because what was said during a fight. Well, what was the fight about? Something that probably is inconsequential a lot of the time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well,
No,
normally we're not fighting about the actual topic. We think
right.
we're fighting about the topic, but we're never really fighting about the actual topic. But I think as we approach relationships, and this is what I think I've learned over these many years of being on this earth. I didn't date this way before. I would date and just, I wanted chemistry with somebody. Like, do I like them? Do they feel nice? And that kind of, well, I would think, well, it's hard to find chemistry with someone. So you just try to make shit work. But now I don't do that. Now it's about not only do they feel good, but are we aligned? So dating now is observation. Well, I'm not dating anymore. I'm in a relationship, but dating is now observation. Are we aligned in these areas? So like I just become a student now. Like when I'm hanging out, I'm not correcting any kind of behavior. I'm just going, are we aligned in this area or not? And then we get to talk through it. But I think people want to change people. Like, you need to do these things. How could you not see it? It's common sense. Nothing's common sense, because the way we think and the way we behave has everything to do with our experiences, our conditioning, our mindset, all that. But we don't take any of that into account. We just want people to think like we do. If you have a conversation and the conversation's not really going well, you just have to go, are we aligned in this area? But we stay in like, but they're cute and I like them. So I'm, just trying to force it. And we just got to believe that there's somebody else that's more perfect for us.
I love that.
I hear a lot. Even someone was just saying this to me yesterday. But the other person is such a good person. She's so nice. He loves me to pieces. I don't really like them, or that's not really the person for me, but they treat me so well. Like, why would I, it's a lot of that. So in these when relationships are kind of like one-sided and the other person isn't complaining, it's like, that person is giving me what I need. I'm not giving them, what I would give someone that I do like. Do I leave? Do I stay? It's not a bad deal. If I leave, well, what's out there for me next? What's that saying that say, don't leave the person you're with for someone you like, because they'll leave you for. There's just all this complicated beliefs around that.
Well, because we believe that there's a shortage, right? We believe that we can't find the person that we're going to be most aligned with. That, if they're a nice person, maybe we've had some experiences where people haven't been so nice. So if they're nice and they're kind, like, it's like, I feel like this is all I'm going to get. So I might as well just stay. But the truth is that we don't take the information and just say, like, these are the things that I like. I like somebody who's kind. I like somebody who's compassionate. I like somebody who listens to me, but I also like somebody I'm attracted to. But you believe that you can't have all those things. So you just hold on to this one thing. And when you're holding on to this one thing, guess what? No, you've closed that door for anybody else to come through.
Yeah, you block anything that the universe is already, because the universe is constantly taking your order anyway, whether you verbalize it or not. So
That's
whenever
right.
you're doing that, you're blocking off what the universe is having occur for you. And the funny thing is, that's so funny, because I have somebody, a family member, and I was telling her the same thing. I'm like, you're saying that you want a marriage and you're with this guy who you're now saying, oh, we got to split up. That's because the universe got your husband ready for you, girl. You got to let homeboy go. You know what I mean? You're not realizing, but it's hard, but that's fear. That's
Yeah,
fear of really.
and I said to someone the other day, because it was a guy talking about a girl that he didn't want to leave because she's such a good person, and oh, it's just not right for her. And I said, well, you have to believe in her power, that she's going to create something great for her, someone who loves her the same way that she's been able to show how she can love. And I think sometimes we worry about the other person not being good, that we decide, all right, we're all going to be compromised.
You know what? That sounds what you said about homeboy. That immediately just that was his fear. That was his own fear of regretting losing a good woman, and he'll later on be like, "Damn, I had her. She was good. Now she happy, and I'm mad." That's what that was. That
Right.
immediately registered. Well, maybe I'm projecting, but whatever.
But I would say, like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to stay with somebody just because they're good if you don't have an attraction for them, because you're not going to do all the things that are necessary when things get bad, or when things when it gets tough, and you really have to put in the work. Just being nice is not going to help. You know what I mean? So,
And you're not
but
doing nobody a favor. Like, who wants to be in a relationship with somebody that's like, I'm with you because you're nice and I don't want to like disturb that niceness. Like, you're not doing me a favor, bro.
Yeah, but some people are not in good relationships and they just kind of keep that facade.
It really goes back to what you said, Lisa. It's really more about not knowing oneself. That person doesn't know their truest self, and they don't understand that what's not good for them. Like, if you're doing it as a favor to the other person, then you're not really fulfilling your own needs, and that doesn't serve the other person. It's not genuine.
You don't believe in the other person and their capacity to live their best life.
No, you do, but you don't want to be left out of it. You want both. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, they're a great person, so I'm gonna keep them on the side, but I got no intentions on fulfilling it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's also in my book, The Independent Bum. They'll take all the energy, but they won't give none back.
I think everything is based on our belief systems, right? And then our experiences. So we have not experienced, especially growing up, I watched like the stories and all the rom-coms. I love love stories, right? So if it doesn't feel like that all the time, it feels like something's wrong, but it's not true. But just with anything in our lives, we get to create what we want. And I decided, when I left my old relationship, I was like, I do want a love story type of romance, and I can have it. If I can have whatever I want, I can create whatever I want, I can have it. So, but if I'm intentional about creating it, it becomes amazing. But if I think we just get caught up in routines, right? It's beautiful in the beginning because you don't have to do a lot, but it's hard to maintain that. You got to maintain the newness. You've got to keep dating. You can't just get into this routine of like, what you want to eat, what you want to eat. You know what I mean? It's like, we got to go out on a date. We got to make things special. So
yeah,
that's what I'm doing.
and it's so much fun. I'm doing that too. But you know what? It's fun. I'm terrible. I need to shut up. But it's so much fun when you're in that space, and knowing that it's key to know that you can create your reality, and you deserve that. Everyone that's watching deserves to create their most happiest relationship. But to be honest, and to give back credit to Lisa, what she said, you have to have a good relationship with yourself first, and that's what's going to allow you to really feed that into other people. Sometimes people get into dynamics with one another because like they feel they got that, like, oh, I'm good, like I know how to feed life into people. And sometimes subconsciously we get into connections with people who don't know that about themselves, so we become that catalyst for excitement for them. And then it's like, oh, they love me because I'm helping them see themselves in a light they ain't never see themselves in. And then the moment they start seeing themselves in that light, we like, what's wrong with you? What you doing? You know what I mean? Like, I was with somebody for 15 years who was he was a mess. We were kids, and he was a mess in a lot of situations. but I loved him so much, and I could not see him in that light. Like no matter how messed up he was, I loved him so genuinely and purely. And I would constantly try to build and build and build and build him up. And as he grew, and as we both grew, we grew up, but we also grew apart. He started to see himself in that way. And the moment he started to see himself and love himself, he didn't thank me or care about what I added to him. Instead, he took that and he kind of showed other women, like, look at me. You know what I mean? Like, I can see myself now. And
Right.
I was like,
So,
it
well,
was
okay, right? Because you're taking full accountability, right?
full accountability. No, I was a little shit. No, I was so mad. I'm taking full accountability. And, you know,
Right.
I feel very close to this person. I love them to death. But I
So
was
the question
very,
I have for you is, what would you have done different in that relationship?
um, I would have never, in that relationship, the things that I regret was I became hurtful and vindictive. I was young. I was a teenager. I was young and I was super toxic, Janessa. Like this was like me as Venom. Okay, I was like toxic Spider-Man all day. And when he hurt me or when he did things to hurt himself, they hurt me, but I internalized it, I personalized it, and I would hurt him back in other ways to try to shift the power dynamics. I was a kid. I didn't really understand how to properly assess the power of exchange with him. But I would have never hurt him as much really and use my pain to hurt him back so he can feel the same thing I was feeling. But that was the greatest love story that I ever had, and that was the most important relationship I was ever in. And it took me a long time to heal that pain because I started to even after we fell apart, and I would hurt myself after not hurting him anymore. When he removed himself and I removed myself from the relationship, I started to hurt me. Like
Mm.
I would hurt myself. I'd get in unhealthy relationships. I treat other people like shit. I treat myself like dirt. I'd get into these dynamics that were just not serving of me. And I would just abuse myself and expose myself to more toxicity, not knowing,
Yeah.
because I was hurt inside. So really I would have loved him way more. But then I got it. I finally, after a while, got it. And the love that I needed to tap into was to allow him to do the things he wanted for himself. And when I did that, because we would still have this weird toxic relationship with each other for years, where we'll butt back and forth with each other and stuff and see other people and hurt them and get back with each other and then hurt each other and get back with other people. Crazy stuff, unhealthy, toxic things. But finally, I understood this is not good for me. And I know that this is the only way that you understand love because you only know toxic love, but I can't allow it. And I want for you to have what you want, but I have to remove myself. That was when I realized I love him because I wanted him to have his own experiences, which meant he can't have me. And that was hard, but that was the highest level of love that I could possibly have for him at that time. But before that, girl, I'll forget it. I was like, who the hell you think you are? I'm the one who showed you who you are.
Aha. How about you, Lisa? What's your greatest love story?
The lesson?
Yeah.
Or
Just your story.
just the story?
Even the dirty parts, girl. Let it out. Let it find out. Join me.
Oh my God. You know what I was thinking about? I was like, wow, I've had so many toxic relationships and I forgot about them all. And that feels really powerful because you're going down this lane and I'm like, was I at that high school? Like, did I know people? Was I one of those girls? Was I part of this whole mess? And I'm like, oh, that feels so long ago. I think there was somebody that I was with for a while that I loved like crazy because he had this peace inside of him. And I didn't know any other way to describe it. It was just like a peace, like just ease. And I had no idea how to access that in me. And I broke up with him all the time. And eventually he took it seriously. Right? And then I started having dreams. Like I had a dream and then he knew about the dream before I told him. I was like, oh my God, girl. I was like, oh yeah, we need to just get back together. And at this point he was just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, but what about your peace? I don't have that peace. And then I'm like, I don't believe it. He's not really doing this. And it took me like maybe another 2 more years to just start developing that own peace, my stillness, my like ability to listen to myself, um, and to like not feel like I need that from somebody else. But it just felt like something I just knew nothing about on my own. Like I could, you know, I've always I've always been nurturing and loving, but I didn't know how to just be good, like just relax and let it all go and feel enough. And he did. And knowing that he has his power and I have my power, like now that's great. Like it feels great not needing someone that you needed before, that you thought you needed, you know, knowing that you just really need yourself. And then you can love freely. You know, then you don't even have to like wait till they see how great I'm doing. Like you don't even need that. Like that feels great.
Right.
That feels great. Although you know, I think there's like a piece that's okay forever. I'll forever want to know if he looked at my stories. But it's okay. I don't have to like. I don't have anything to prove. I don't have like. I feel good with me, and now I'm able to love in a new way. And now my new problems. Like I tell my boyfriend all the time, I'm like, listen, this is like I'm so great now compared to how I used to be. Like this is nothing. Like I'm so proud of the growth, and I know I'm still growing more, and I have a lot more lessons to learn, and to just be better and bigger and more who I am. But I can acknowledge and celebrate all of the transitions and the pain and the journey. And we don't get there overnight, and we can't expect people to like to know these things without living it. And I think that's the whole thing with being gentle, with just saying, all right, like it's all right. I did some bad shit. I did some dumb shit. I did whatever you did. It's okay. It's okay.
Right.
Start now. Where do you want to be?
You should
Love you, love. And let the rest just fall where it will, and it will fall where you want it to, because that's what you're radiating.
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I seen the camera switch. What about yours? What's yours? Join us in this vulnerable pool.
What's my what? What's my what? What's the question? I don't even remember what
What is your greatest toxic love experience? So we went to toxicity land.
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, I grew up also around a lot of violent relationships. They were very toxic. And so I didn't understand about like communicating your needs. I just saw a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing. So when things didn't go my way, I broke shit. I cursed people out. I cut below the belt.
Yeah, right, girl.
And then you can't come back from that stuff, you know. And then when you're trying to be all loving and you're trying to have those dramatic love stories, it's hard when you've just sliced each other, you know. So but it took me some time, you know, to not be frustrated in my communication. You know, I now, if I'm having any kind of situation where I need to talk through something, you know, I meditate first. I make sure I'm not having a discussion when I'm upset. I think the biggest thing is I've become emotionally independent. I was emotionally codependent before. I was dependent on those people treating me a certain way in order for me to feel good.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is I get to I feel however I want to feel. I adjust all this. So if somebody is doing something that's making me feel a type of way, I pause first now, and I try to understand what it is that I'm feeling so that I'm able to communicate it. And I go, is it something that I need to recalibrate? Or is it something that I need to say, like, I really need this from you? Because sometimes it's really about me just shifting things. Like, these are little things, but, you know, it's little things that happens, you know, in relationships where you're like, you know, maybe somebody's on the phone a lot and you're feeling like, you know, you're not connecting or whatever. And so in the past, I probably would have made little side remarks and jokes and whatever. And then, but now it's like, okay, let me sit back for a minute before I say anything. Is it really that I need connection right now? Or it's just saying that we're sitting together right now and you need to pay me some attention? You know, can I do something else? Is it really that they're ignoring me? You know what I mean? Like I go through all that first before I even say anything. And, I just want to have, I don't want to have discord in my relationship. So I want everything to feel peaceful. So it's really about like, okay, so does every moment of the day that we're together, they can't be on their phone? No, I'm good. I got things I got to do, but it's really about what it makes me feel. And what it makes me feel is I just want to connect more. So there may be a time where I'm just like, can we have focused time together? All the other time, I'm not gonna, be upset about you being on your phone. But when we're together and we're saying this is time, I want your undivided attention. Is that something that you're in alignment and agreement with? And most often they are. And we have a different kind of conversation now. Me in the past would have been like, you always on that goddamn phone. Every time I'm in here, you on this. When are you gonna be on this phone? And then, it's none of that leads to anything good.
Like, don't make me toss that phone across the wall now, girl.
But I got different problems now. So in the past, I had other kind of problems. I had big problems. I don't have
Isn't it great? Isn't it great that's your problem now? Like that's such a tiny, that's like, don't even mention, it's so great. I love hearing these kind of problems instead of I almost killed someone today, It feels so great hearing that, like making that transition and knowing that and that contrast,
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day, I was thinking about contrast and I was like, oh, I've been some awful places. And I was like, but you know what? That's why I can appreciate where I am today. Like, that's why I'm not taking it for granted. That's why I'm really like feeling blessed about it,
Yeah.
That's a good point of awareness.
And I was going to say too, is that, I feel like just growing up, how do you learn about relationships? You're usually learning it because you're watching your parents, right? Or you learn it from movies and songs, but no one really teaches us how to communicate. And we are in relationships with bosses, with where emotional partners, like all this, but we're not taught how to have these relationships. And the biggest thing, like when you talk about self-awareness, how does one become self-aware? If how do we do that? How does one become self-aware?
Well, for me, and I was thinking about it when you were talking about like where you come from. Like I had to start comparing what I'm feeling. Like when I started to do let me think about it, let me calm down, so that I just knew that I didn't want to go through what I've experienced in the past. And so I had to start learning the difference between, do I need to communicate this because I'm in need of something, or am I getting triggered? You know what I mean? And so like, somehow I can't really pinpoint like when the self-awareness came to. It was just more of a thought like, do I need to communicate this because I need this, or am I scared that this person, like, is John Doe gonna act like Timothy Doe? You know what I'm saying? I know this feeling because Timothy Doe was doing this, and now John Doe is doing this.
Here's the thing, and so I think still we didn't talk about the how, because I think people want to know the how.
Taking stock of where you are with your life, the life that you want and where you currently are. We all know what we want. And I remember I used to think that some people don't want a great life. Like some of the people I grew up with, I thought, but then I started paying more attention. I'm like, actually, everyone wants a great life. Like whatever that looks like, it might be different for each person, but people strive for more. As long as we're alive, we want more of whatever fuels us. And I think saying, okay, where am I right now? And what do I really want? Being able to look at that comfortably, because it's easier. Like for me, it was very hard to look at my life because I'm like, I just don't want to look like, it feels, if I don't want to do it. It feels nasty. It feels like it's a lot. But I think saying, okay, where am I? How do I feel about where I'm at? Now, where do I want to be? And then you start to piece it together and you get excited about it because you realize you have the time, and then you realize there's more resources available for you to do it than you might have previously thought. You realize that there's support systems. But as long as you deny yourself from your own greatness, you can't piece it together. Like, I mean, stuff can happen spontaneously to remind you again to get on your path and to live, but you have to decide when life keeps asking you or suggesting that you come on, you have to at some point say yes.
So I want to, I don't know if we've answered the question necessarily of, kind of what is Hindering Our Greatest Love Story. I feel like we kind of went all over, different places. But go ahead.
We are hindering anything that's not, because if we are really in our power, we really believe that we create the life we want to live, then we have to hold ourselves accountable. And it's not to beat up on ourselves, but it's to say, what do I want? Now let me have it. Really, let me have it. Let me take steps every day. It's like doing your push-ups. You can't do it today. You try a little bit. You do a little tomorrow. You do it, and eventually you see this. You're able to do 100 push-ups, no problem. But you have to commit to that. Commit to you, and it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be so dramatic.
Mhm.
I feel like it's weird that I don't have drama in my life. I'm like, is this a boring life? I'm like, like, would someone watch this now? Like it's anticlimactic, right? But it's not at all, because now I can put my energy towards things that I want to do and I want to create, and not trying to get myself out of sticky situations that are like killing me softly.
Yeah.
So I think saying, okay, I create this. What do I do? Let me do things for me. Let me do things to remind myself to love myself. Let me get into the habit of loving myself. Let me ask for what I want. Let me insist. Let me demand. Let me not settle for anything else. And then we keep moving forward.
Well, my joyful friends, we have come to the end of this episode. Obstacles Hindering Your Greatest Love Story. This is episode 1, part 2. Don't forget to check out part 3. We appreciate you listening and would love your feedback. So drop a comment below and don't forget to hit subscribe.